China, daily deaths from COVID reach 20,750. The first peak in the death toll is about to occur. The epidemic has spread to the countryside. Due to a lack of antipyretic drugs, 2 children were poisoned by misusing veterinary antipyretic drugs. Expert, the mortality data are truly shocking. COVID-19 sequelae, a young girl suffered from severe facial paralysis. A man with severe edema all over his body asked for help in despair. Guangzhou cuts health insurance benefits, sparking protests from pensioners. Is the CCP running out of money? As the new COVID variant spreads, WHO urges travelers to wear masks. In retaliation, China stopped issuing short-term visas to South Korean and Japanese citizens. It's all covered in today's China Truths. China, daily deaths from COVID reach 20,750. The first peak in the death toll is about to occur. According to the most recent report from Epidemic, a UK-based data analytics company, the number of daily deaths in China has soared to 20.750 as of January 12, 2023, nearly double the numbers reported at the end of December last year. Epidemic forecasts that the first peak of daily deaths will come 10 days later, which is around January 22nd, with the number of deaths could exceed 25,000 a day. Hospitalizations and deaths would also be at their peak during this time. The epidemic's first peak will come on January 13th, with 3.7 million infections each day. Additionally, Epidemic also believes that the second peak will occur on March 3, 2023, with an estimated 4.2 million infections a day. The second wave is expected to have a greater impact on rural areas. The cumulative deaths from the epidemic in China are estimated to reach 1.7 million by the end of April 2023. While international experts continue to issue dire predictions as well as videos and photos showing the dreadful reality of the epidemic in mainland China, the CCP continues to mock itself by reporting that only 10 Chinese died from COVID-19 in December 2022. According to the government's health officials, China had only 5 deaths a day or less in January 2023. The epidemic has spread to the countryside. Due to a lack of antipyretic drugs, 2 children were poisoned by misusing veterinary antipyretic drugs. The Lunar New Year is approaching, and people from throughout China are returning home for the holiday. Meanwhile, the epidemic has spread to rural areas, where the medical conditions are much worse than in cities. Infections and deaths are increasing rapidly in rural areas of Shanghai, Beijing, Hebei, and elsewhere, according to NTD-TV, with long queues at crematoriums. A video shared on social media shows a big crowd at a funeral in rural China, where a lot of joss papers are burned, blowing thick smoke into the air. The video maker wondered how many people attended the funeral, considering that the epidemic situation in the countryside is just as severe as in the city. According to Ms. Yi, a Shanghai resident, no one dared to leave the house. There are long queues at rural crematoriums. I had to wait more than a month. There were dead bodies everywhere. Currently, there are outbreaks in rural areas. There are no medicines, no medical facilities, and we are waiting to die. Those who are critically ill are being injected with saline and are also waiting to die. It is now winter in northern China, and some netizens say that natural gas is frequently cut off in Hebei and other areas, making heating and cooking extremely difficult. The temperature in the room is below 0 at night, freezing their hands and feet. The disease has already taken the lives of many elderly people living in villages. Ms. Tian, a rural Beijing resident, says that corrupt CCP officials have deliberately deprived farmers of their rights and benefits, degrading them to second-class citizens. If they get sick, they'll die soon, and no obituaries will be written. Some people have a fever, they can get better by taking medicine, but they can't afford it. There are those who buy all the medicines from the countryside and sell them in the city at a higher price. They lose human nature because of money. A few days ago, mainland media reported that a family of 4 in Inner Mongolia had a fever but couldn't get fever-reducing drugs in the village. Because of this, they took veterinary antipyretic drugs, which poisoned 2 children and led to liver failure, which is currently putting their health in danger. Expert, the mortality data are truly shocking. Ms. Yan Liming, a former postdoctoral researcher at the University of Hong Kong, told NTD-TV that the results of several small-scale surveys conducted by her research team through various channels revealed truly shocking mortality data. She stated, basic statistics are based on the number of funeral homes present or the level of congestion in the hospital, as well as the mortality rate of severe cases in the hospital.
比如说像北京八宝山殡仪馆有内部消息称，他们对上级的这个保证是保证1天内争取这个火化1000具尸体。那你要知道，北京有10多家殡仪馆，如果按照这样算的话，那北京1天能够火化上万具尸体。那为什么到现在为止，北京的整个火化的队伍排到这么长，要混烧，多人一个炉？那我们其实还有一个数据就是。中国政府统计的2021年的时候，全国有超过1.9亿人口是超过65岁的，而现在这个基本上每个人认识的超过65岁的人都有去世的，那这个数据有多少？能不能达到1/10？如果是1/10的话，那就已经是接近2000万。所以这些数据都是很可怕的。还有一个数据我可以提供给你们的，就是武汉在2018年公开的数据是，1天武汉的殡仪馆是能够处理2000具以上尸体的。但是现在武汉那边的医疗系统挤兑，然后殡仪系统也是大排长龙。那所以呢，这些都可以去相对的反映出现在死亡人数的激增。
According to Ms. Yan, her team predicts that the death toll will continue to increase over the next few weeks and that this entire group of deaths will not be limited to the elderly but will shift towards the youth and middle-age groups. COVID-19 sequelae, a young girl suffered from severe facial paralysis. A man with severe edema all over his body asked for help in despair. As we reported earlier, after being infected, many people in China have had severe sequelae, including insomnia, hair loss, memory loss, women growing beards, men unable to grow beards, or even a patient nearly losing her vision. Recently, 2 other cases with more serious sequelae have been reported on the mainland, a young woman with severe facial paralysis and a man with edema all over his body, both of whom are in desperate need of treatment. The question of whether the Omicron variant only causes the common cold is raised by these incidents. According to NTD-TV, a social media video shows a young girl suffering from facial paralysis after being infected for about 13 days. She said in the video,
新冠的第14天也是我面瘫的第2天，比昨天还要稍微严重一点，就是左边就是完全瘫住，右边的话就眼睛还不停的眨，说话这个新冠真的太可怕了。
The other case is a young man born in 1980 who swelled up all over his body after testing positive for the virus. He said that despite spending more than 100,000 yuan, about $15,000, and visiting many hospitals, he got no relief. He went on social media to look for help, saying, Additionally, a mainland doctor told NTD-TV that many people infected with the new strain of COVID have recently had blood clots. This doctor then offered the latest COVID treatment advice, which is to take anticoagulants. In reaction to this circumstance, some netizens posted videos urging everyone not to trust the CCP's lies, such as the CCP's official assertion that the new strain of COVID causes the common cold. Guangzhou cuts health insurance benefits, sparking protests from pensioners. Is the CCP running out of money? As previously stated, the CCP abruptly ended the extreme zero COVID policy after 3 years, as well as the free COVID treatment policy, leaving a significant number of low and middle-income mainland Chinese with massive medical bills after being infected. Then came the so-called health insurance reform, which put retirees who rely on pensions in a difficult situation. As a result, they flocked to the streets to protest. All of these moves lead to the question, is the CCP running out of money? According to NTD-TV, a video shared on social media showed a big crowd gathered in front of the lobby of the Guangzhou Provincial Human Resources and Social Security Administration, which is located in the Yueshou district. The following footage showed a group of masked elderly people arguing furiously around a man who seemed to be an official. Several police officers stood behind this man. There was also a police vehicle positioned on the side of the road close by. This is considered a sign that the police are prepared to detain protesters at any moment. At the same time, a letter titled "Open Letter to the Mayor from all retirees of Guangzhou City" appeared on the internet, stating that the monthly pension for retirees in Guangzhou is only 1,500 to 3,000 yuan, about $200 to $400. Some health insurance has expired, some has not been processed, resulting in retirees spending more than 500 yuan, about $74, in health insurance every month. There is little money left to live on. Many retirees are unhappy with the situation. They believe that by purchasing health insurance from the government and thus engaging in a contractual relationship, the government cannot randomly amend the contract and shift the health crisis, which is caused by the medical monopoly, onto the general public. The Wall Street Journal released a study titled "Does Zero COVID's End Mean China is Running Out of Money?" at the end of December last year. According to the analysis, despite previous reports highlighting the white paper movement that erupted in November last year as the major cause for forcing the CCP to abandon the zero COVID policy, there may be a simpler reason: the CCP government is running out of money. The ubiquitous nucleic acid testing has been the foundation of China's zero COVID policy. That pricey policy was not conducive to the pandemic's prolonged duration. According to a Bank of China report, the annual cost of such testing for 900 million Chinese would be $100 billion. According to the report, nucleic acid testing would cost more than $240 billion annually if it were adopted in all of China's first and second-tier cities, which have a combined population of 505 million. Let's put that number in perspective. The Chinese government's fiscal revenue in 2021 was nearly $2.9 trillion. Accordingly, COVID testing in China's largest cities would consume around 8% of the country's annual fiscal revenue. However, testing isn't even the most expensive aspect of China's zero COVID policy. The cost of partial lockdowns is greater. According to Suchao Securities, the monthly cost of a 2-week partial lockdown of cities across the country would be $22.4 billion. The yearly cost would be $268 billion, or more than 9% of China's annual fiscal revenue if lockdowns were persistent. On May 26, 2022, the National Medical Insurance Administration announced that from that point forward, local governments would be liable for the expense of testing. As a result, financial pressure started to build on local government budgets. They are currently running large deficits, owing mostly to the collapse of the real estate market caused by Xi Jinping's policies. Economic and public pressure forced the CCP to abandon its zero COVID policy. At the very least, it will help restore some sort of normal social order and boost the economy. The catering, travel, and entertainment industries are expected to see significant gains first, but they will not have a major impact on the economy. Real estate, the backbone of China's economy, might still struggle to recover. Chinese people understand that the golden age of real estate is gone, and as China's population continues to shrink, the real estate market will shrink with it. The article concluded that without real estate, China's high growth will likely come to an end, despite the abandonment of zero COVID. Even though the CCP has failed completely, the organization will never admit it. The CCP will declare victory over the anti-epidemic no matter how many people become infected and die. As the new COVID variant spreads, WHO urges travelers to wear masks. According to Reuters, World Health Organization officials said on Tuesday, January 10, that due to the rapid spread of the new Omicron subvariant of COVID-19 in the United States, countries should consider recommending masks for long-haul flights. the XBB.1.5 subvariant, the most transmissible Omicron subvariant discovered so far, was found in small but growing numbers in Europe and accounted for 27.6% of COVID-19 cases in the United States for the week ending January 7th. It was unclear if XBB.1.5 would cause a global outbreak. Concerns about XBB.1.5 generating a new wave of infections in the United States, Europe, and other countries are growing amid the COVID surge in China. In retaliation, China stopped issuing short-term visas to South Korean and Japanese citizens. According to Reuters, on January 10, China suspended issuing short-term visas to South Korean and Japanese nationals. In addition, all travelers entering China must have a negative COVID-19 test. The move came after Japan and South Korea decided to require a negative COVID-19 test from Chinese travelers. Faced with politically driven reprisal from the CCP, Japan and South Korea continue to defend public health measures that restrict Chinese travelers. South Korean Foreign Minister Park Jin urged the CCP leadership to adopt COVID-19 policies based on scientific and objective facts. Similarly, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary, Hirokazu Matsuno, stated that the Chinese government was restricting visas because of a reason that is not related to COVID-19 measures. Matsuno said that Japan would demand an end to the measures and would respond appropriately while closely watching China's infection situation and how information disclosures are handled by the Chinese side. Many countries have strengthened or implemented testing requirements for Chinese visitors in response to concerns over Beijing's data transparency. The CCP leadership has threatened countermeasures against any country that tries to impose similar restrictions on their travelers. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. We will keep reporting on the COVID surge in China, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to get the latest videos. And thank you for tuning in.